All right, so let's jump into studying in Europe. I bet a lot of you listening are aiming high, thinking about those top-tier universities with acceptance rates that are just crazy low. But hey, a little competition never hurt anyone, right? To boost your chances, though, we're doing a deep dive today on the application process. More specifically, the documents you'll need to get together. We've got this super helpful article by Olivia at University called Documents Required to Study in Europe to help guide us through this.
It's a great place to start. And while these specific requirements you'll need can feel a little bit like a choose-your-own-adventure story depending on the country and the program you're going for, this deep dive should give you a solid roadmap to navigate that maze.
Perfect. Now, everyone knows about application forms, but I'm guessing they're not as simple as they seem. What kind of pitfalls should we watch out for?
You're right. They're usually not simple. Those forms are like the first impression you make. It's like showing up for a job interview in your pajamas. Definitely not the best look, right? So you want to triple check everything, make sure it's all accurate and complete. Don't rush it. Pay close attention to any specific formatting or word count limits they might have.
Okay, noted. No application form faux pas for us. What about proving our academic skills? Transcripts, right?
Exactly. Official transcripts and degree certificates are a must. And here's where it gets a little tricky. Sometimes universities want transcripts from all your previous institutions, not just the most recent one.
Whoa, all of them. Isn't that a bit much? What if someone went to like 5 different schools?
It can seem like a lot, but remember they want a complete picture of your whole academic journey. And for some programs, consistency is key. They want to see you've been a high achiever all along, not just at your last school.
That makes sense. All right, so gather everything just in case. Now, what about language proficiency? That's got to be a big one for studying in Europe, right?
Absolutely. Most universities require proof that you can actually handle the language of instruction. That usually means tests like the IELTS, TOEFL, or TestDaF if you're thinking about going to Germany.
I'm guessing choosing the right test depends on the program and the country you're applying to.
You got it. Do your research early on. Don't assume one test fits all.
All right, so let's say I've got my academic record all together and I've figured out which language test to take. What about making my application really stand out? What are those wow factors?
Now things are getting interesting. Your statement of purpose, or SOP, is where you really shine. It's your personal narrative, not just a list of everything you've done.
So it's more about telling a story than bragging about myself.
Exactly. Why are you so passionate about this field? What unique experiences and perspectives do you bring? How will this specific program help you achieve your long-term goals? That's the kind of stuff that grabs their attention.
Okay, so it's about connecting my past, my present, and my future in a way that makes them say, we need this person.
Precisely. And don't forget about getting some really strong letters of recommendation. Having professors or mentors vouch for your abilities adds another layer of credibility to your application.
Right, because they've seen you putting in the work. It's not just you saying you're awesome, it's someone else confirming it.
Exactly. It paints a more well-rounded picture of you as a student and as someone who could contribute to their academic community.
Got it. So we've talked about grades, language skills, and a killer SOP. What about that all-important document, the CV? It's not just for job hunting, right?
Absolutely not. Your CV, when you're applying for university, is like a highlight reel of your whole academic journey. You're showcasing your skills, relevant coursework, research projects, and any extracurriculars that demonstrate your passions and show that you're well-rounded.
So even that volunteer work at the animal shelter or being captain of the debate team could help.
You never know what might catch their eye. It's all about showing them you're more than just a set of grades. You're a person with interests, drive, and the potential to contribute to their community.
Okay, that's reassuring. I'm starting to see how all these documents are like puzzle pieces that create a complete picture as who I am.
Exactly. And that picture needs to be compelling enough to make them say, we want this person on our campus.
All right, so we've tackled the academic side of things. What about the more practical logistical stuff? I'm assuming a valid passport is non-negotiable.
It's absolutely essential. And make sure it won't expire while you're studying abroad. That's a mistake you don't want to make.
Good point. I would not want to be stuck renewing my passport in a foreign country. What about those passport-sized photos? Are those as important as everyone says?
They're like the unsung heroes of the application process. You'll need them for various forms, visa applications, even your student ID. My advice, get a bunch printed at once and keep them handy. It's a small thing that'll save you a lot of trouble later.
Okay, passport photos. Check and check. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room. Finances, proving you can actually afford to live and study in Europe.
Right, because those croissants and weekend trips to Paris don't pay for themselves. But seriously, you need to prove you can cover both tuition and living expenses. This is where things like bank statements, scholarship letters, or sponsor guarantees come in.
So it's not enough to just say, hey, I'm good for it. You need the paperwork to back it up. What if someone's relying on savings and family support? What documents would they need then?
They'd probably need a few different things. Recent bank statements showing their savings, a letter from their family outlining their financial commitment, and maybe even proof of their family's income.
Wow. Okay, that's pretty detailed. Makes sense, though. They want to make sure you're financially stable and won't be struggling to pay bills while studying.
Exactly. And keep in mind, every country has its own financial requirements for student visa, so do your research early.
Good reminder. It's all about being prepared. Speaking of which, what about health insurance? Is that something I need to worry about now, or can I figure it out later?
Health insurance is another crucial piece of the puzzle, and it's best to sort it out sooner rather than later. A lot of European countries require international students to have health insurance, but the policies can be very different, so research is key.
So don't just assume my current health insurance will cover me overseas.
Definitely not. You'll probably need a plan that meets the specific requirements of the country you're going to. Some universities even offer their own health insurance plans for international students.
Okay, so another thing to research, it feels like we're creating a pre-departure checklist here.
We are, and trust me, being thorough with all the details now will save you a lot of headaches and potential stress in the future.
I believe it. Now, I know we still have a lot to discuss, like the visa application process, but I think this is a good place to take a break.
Sounds good to me. We've built a good foundation, and in the next part of our deep dive, we'll explore some of the finer points and strategies for really making those documents work in your favor.
Stay tuned, everyone. Welcome back, everyone. So we covered a ton of ground in the last part, from application forms to finances, but I have a feeling there's more to this whole document thing than we've talked about.
You're definitely right. It's not just about checking boxes. You need to be strategic and use these documents to tell your unique story.
Okay, I'm all ears. Tell me more about this strategy.
Okay, so think of it like this. You're directing your own little application movie. Each document is like a scene. And all together, they make this compelling narrative that shows off your strengths and potential.
I love that analogy. How do we make sure if our movie is a box office hit with the admissions committee?
Let's start with the SOP. We talked about storytelling, but what does that actually look like, when you're writing?
Yeah, what are the secrets to making an SOP really jump out from the pile?
It's about showing them who you really are, not just repeating stuff from your CD. Don't be afraid to talk about your passions, your motivations, even your doubts and challenges.
So it's okay to be a little vulnerable. Show them we're human.
Absolutely. Being vulnerable can be incredibly powerful. It shows that you're self-aware and that you're willing to learn and grow.
Interesting. I always thought they'd want to see someone who's perfect.
Nope. They want to see real people with real experiences and goals, share a story that shows your resilience, your determination, a time you stepped outside your comfort zone.
Well, good story with a touch of realness. Got it. Now, what about recommendation letters? How do we make sure those are really singing our praises?
This is important. Choose your recommenders carefully. Don't just go for the professor with the most impressive name. Pick people who really know you well, have seen what you can do, and can talk about those specific strengths and skills that match the programs you want.
So someone who can say more than just, they got an A in my class.
Exactly. You want someone who can give real examples of what you've done, your work ethic, your ability to think critically and be creative.
Right, because that's the stuff that shows you're ready for a challenging academic setting.
Precisely. And don't forget to give them plenty of time and all the information they need.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's not fair to just spring it on them last minute.
Nope. They're doing you a favor, so be respectful and give them everything they need so they can write you a good letter. Which, of course, helps you too.
Makes sense. Okay, so what about the CV? We talked about showcasing your academic journey, but how much detail is too much? I don't want to overload them with every single thing I've ever done.
That's a good point. Think of your CV as like a curated collection of your best stuff, not just a giant list. Tailor it to each program you're applying to, highlighting the experiences and skills that are most relevant to what they're looking for.
So it's like I'm making a mini portfolio that's designed to impress each university.
You got it. If a program really cares about research, highlight your research experience. If they want leadership skills, show them how you were involved in student organizations.
I see what you mean. We need to be really strategic with every single document. It's like we're playing chess with our future.
Exactly. And just like in chess, every move matters. So let's talk about another important move, figuring out all those program-specific requirements.
Yes, because we've been discussing general documents, but I know some programs have their own little quirks.
Absolutely. This is where thorough research is really important. Don't assume anything. Read every single thing on the program's website. Go to online info sessions, and don't be shy about contacting the admissions office directly if you've got questions.
So it's better to be a little annoying and ask a lot of questions than to miss something important.
100%. I've seen students miss out on their dream programs just because they didn't send in a required portfolio or didn't follow the right format for a recommendation letter. Don't let that happen to you.
Noted. I'll make sure to read every detail super carefully. Now, you mentioned extra entry tests earlier. Can you explain what those are?
So language tests are pretty standard, but some programs, especially for grad school, require other standardized tests like the GRE or GMAT.
Oh, yeah, the GRE. I remember that test. How do I know if I need to take one of these extra tests?
It should be clearly stated on the program's website, but when in doubt, just reach out to the admissions office. They're your go-to for any program-specific questions.